Well folks, we're back in GT7 for another speed build. This is one that I meant to do a while back. Actually, I of course did the GT-R NISMO with the Chiron swap, I did the Corvette with the Chiron swap. I wanted to do the Lambo as well, didn't do that one on the channel, so we're covering that now. The Lambo takes a little bit more of an aggressive setup to make the handling better, so that is the main name of the game here. It's a bit like the Huayra used to be in the older games. You really have to set it up correctly for it to work well. So of course we do have the Chiron swap. I've opted for the wide arch kit, mostly for the looks. I know that you don't necessarily need it, and in some cases you don't want it, because it will sacrifice some speed, so I'll leave the aero side of things down to you. I'm actually not going to jump into the upgrade shop, because you don't really need to. I'll just show you what I've fitted here, and most of it is pretty self-explanatory. So fit all of the stuff that improves horsepower, of course, and then as far as the rest, it's pretty much fit all of the racing parts. So transmission, suspension, brakes, etc. We've got the racing soft tyres, of course, for maximum grip. On that point, I know some players do like to have, for instance, soft on the back and hard on the front to help with the handling. You don't really need to do that with this one, unless you specifically want to. It will make it even heavier through the corner, but again, I'll leave that down to you. As far as the suspension, you want the fully customised, of course, essentially race suspension in other words. We've got the rear on 88, the front on 111, so very Huayra-esque from the Gran Turismo 6 days, 4 on anti-roll, 30 and 40 for the dampers, 3.5 front and back for the frequency on the springs, so pretty stiffened up there. As far as the camber, 3.5 degrees front and rear, and as far as the toe, not too crazy, but 30 for the toe in on the rear and 15 out on the front, again for stability of course. As far as the diff, of course this makes a huge difference for a car which isn't stable at high speeds. So we've got 60 for the front and 555 for the back, and I've opted for a 50-50 split. For the split side of things, you could change it around if you want to, maybe a 30-70 or whatever, but I like to have quite a bit of grip on the front end as well. We do have NOS fitted. I know some people again like to have it last longer and have less power, so again, it's down to you what you want to do. As far as the race transmission, I've got 670 kilometers an hour. As with most of my speed builds in GT7, I haven't bothered to do the individual gears. You will get even more performance out of the car if you really set it up perfectly, but like I've said before, these builds are not designed to be the quickest in the world. I don't really do those kind of in-depth builds anymore. These are more so just for people who don't know that much about tuning, maybe see people that are way quicker than them in lobbies and still want to, stand some kind of a chance of keeping up, even if it's with slipstream, or just to use it in career mode if you want to as a really quick car. For the power restrictor, the ballast, you don't need any of that. The fully customized ECU, of course. Downforce is not applicable on this one, but that's because I haven't got the front or rear, spoilers, chin splitter, none of that. If you do have that fitted in your own build, you'll want to have the aero as low as possible. And then as far as the rest, you can see all the bits and bobs that we've got. So the ultra high RPM, we've got the steering angle adapter, which I would recommend. It improves your turn in. And then down here, of course, you can see the weight reduction, etc. And if you double check your specs over on the left, you should be running the same numbers that I am. So like 1850 horsepower, 1289 kilos, of course with that Chiron engine, and up around roughly 770 points. So it's pretty simple, just like the GT-R, just like the Corvette. So of course, as you'll have seen in the thumbnail, it's a pretty rapid car, not quite as quick as those two, so it's not the clear choice necessarily. Some people may have made it quicker, out of the three, but at least for me, it turned out to be a little bit slower than the others. But all that remains, of course, is to jump out to Route X in its natural habitat and show you what it can do in practice. Now, like I said earlier on in this video, the name of the game with this one was certainly more so than the GT-R, and surprisingly more so than the Corvette as well, just to make it more controlled in the corner. This was very, very much like the Huayra in Gran Turismo 6, because that car was tremendously quick, but then in the corners you really had to set it up well. And one of the very early builds that I did that gave people an edge was what I used to call the golden bullet, and that was a properly quick car because I sacrificed a bit of top speed, but it made it so much more stable that you could go right down to the inside of the corner and overtake people on that last turn. Likewise with this one, it's so much more stable. You can take it high up on the corner if you want to. I would actually recommend avoiding that for a couple of reasons. One, you don't need to be up there. You're not actually any quicker at the top of the corner with this particular tune anyway than you are at the bottom, and more importantly, it is a lot harder for other players to wipe you out if you're at the bottom of the corner, because for them to do that, they're going to have to either be quicker than you, go past you and then slide into you, which nobody would deliberately do that, or they'd have to get right down even lower than you and undertake you and then hit you. So being at the bottom of the corner is like I would say 9 out of 10 times way safer to drive around Route X and not get hit into. Whereas on the top, of course, everyone's going to bash into you, sometimes even by mistake. So if you do decide to use it, as you'll have seen from the thumbnail, it's not quite as quick, like I said, as the Corvette or the GT-R. It's certainly quick enough with slipstream though, and the handling improvement alone is what this is, as I said, all about for those players who love Lambos, want to use this thing, but maybe just couldn't get it under control. So I hope you have a ton of fun with it. Of course, check out the other two, which I've already done. I might do 1 or 2 more of these as well, with these, high-end engine swaps. And we'll have to see in future what other swaps we get in terms of maybe the Chiron, maybe other stuff. So check out my other builds. Of course, stick around for more GT7 content on the channel. And until next time, I'll see you then. But for now, thanks for watching.